In this world, is the destiny of mankind controlled by some transcendental entity or law? Is it like the hand of God hovering above? At least it is true that man has no control, even over his own will.
The SKS series of rifles. This holds a special place in my heart. It's the rifle that was my first centerfire semi-automatic. When I got it, it was during a time where I was the very definition of poor. But the gun was dependable, and it filled all the needs I had at the time. A decently powerful cartridge, accurate enough with those iron sights, and a reload system that was unique and slow, but it tended to be good enough for my needs. The two we have on the table right now is a Chinese one, a little bit more beat up, and a Russian one in pretty good condition. Its manual of arms is simple, and when well practiced is relatively fast. I've shot a wide variety of them. I've shot Russian, Chinese, and Yugoslavian examples of each, and each one tells its own story. They all feel a little bit different.
That trigger feels so much weirder. It's got so much creep.
Does it?
Compared to the 56, yeah.
Well, this one has obviously been used a lot more.
Yeah. That's weird. That's cool, but it's weird.
With a soft point. And it didn't want to feed him.
Clearly, there's only one way to get a good comparison between two rifles that seem so similar. And that's to shoot them side by side.
Did he go do something?
Another type of SKS is the Yugo SKS. I didn't get footage of one shooting, but the manual of arms of the Yugo series of SKSs is relatively interesting. The M59-66 came with a grenade launcher, extending its utility in a military context. However, it also adds some extra weight and extra length. As a civilian, it doesn't really make sense to buy one unless it's for collector's value, or, as the owner of this one did, you have some way to get dummy grenades or something like that to make it a little bit more worthwhile. Let's talk about accuracy. This topic is actually pretty debated. If you look into forums from a while ago, back when they were still very cheap, there is a difference of opinion that splits, where some people think they're more accurate than an AK and some people think they're less. I think this would be an interesting topic for a further video. However, it's worth noting that there are so many variants of each that it's hard to get a direct comparison. Up in Maine, Columbia River Fish and Game Club holds a competition every year called Frozen Mosin. The objective is very simple. The competition is centered around surplus military rifles. 5 standing, 5 kneeling, 5 prone. All at 100 yards. In 2020, I competed using a Mosin Nagant, scoring 118, or 3rd place for Irons Division. In 2022, I competed with my SKS, and I only scored a 71. This is by no means definitive or scientific. It's just saying I did better with one than with the other.
Needs a team of surgeons to close that wound.
Not just a surgeon.
A team of surgeons.
Oh, frog!
Frog.
Yeah.
Oh. Frog. Poor fucker's probably deaf.
we go.
Excuse me, Intruder!
Esau!
After a few hours of shooting, I head up into the woods and find a nice snowmobile trail to follow.
It may seem overkill to bring a rifle in the woods, one of the most crime-free states in America. But you must remember, moose are fucking huge. So, I think 9 rounds of 8M3, because I don't want to keep it topped off and accidentally shoot myself. There we go. It's perfectly reasonable.
That thing was far too large to be called a sword. Too big, too thick, too heavy, and too rough. It was more like a large hunk of raw iron.
In the unlikely event I have to bring the SKS into action, it's fairly easy to. And if I don't have time, I still have the handgun. It's funny. You never quite feel like you're handling 8 pounds. Carries so nicely, like you're using a walking stick. Not thirsty yet, but I'll keep this river in mind and the very nice bridge that it goes under for when I do get thirsty. Here's the first mountain I've seen on the trail. Doesn't seem too tall. I wonder if I can make it, or if it, maybe the trail doesn't even go to it. But I'd like to try it, even if I have to bushwhack for it. Now we see some moose tracks. They're small for a moose, and these are deer tracks, but back there, that little crossing, seeing more moose, so this means a new way to carry, slung in front. It's a little more aggressive for tourists, but I haven't seen any. Here we go. Some turkey feathers. While I'm just exploring this trail, I don't really know where I'm going. I have a map and compass, but other than that, I'm going blind. So I'm gonna ignore the no trespassing and go to the left instead.
This is the only point in my journey where I actually see other people. There's a few bicyclists, and they seem to mind their own business, and I'm happy with that. My plan had been to go the whole way without running into anyone, but this was unavoidable considering I was crossing a road that's fairly busy.
How to make sure you're alone in the woods. Oh, that's heavy. Slow? My brother in Christ, I am slow. This is what's called a vernal pool. Right now it's a swamp, but in the spring it fills up with rain. Certainly too muddy to drink out of.
While the trail clearly hasn't been used by other hikers in some time, that doesn't mean it's untouched, and there are signs of snowmobiles and work on infrastructure all over the place. That being said, the rivers are clear and look fairly clean. There are times when purification tablets are better, and there are times where a filter such as a Sawyer are better, and they both have their place. Neither one is a wrong thing to have in your pack. And I usually bring both. The terrain is easy, which allows me to cover almost 15 miles in 6 hours, which is relatively good for me. At least with the full pack, so I think it's time to turn in for the night. I need to get off the floodplain of this river, and then drop my pack and set up. For a little bit more information on the gear that I bring with me, you can check out my backpacking in the suburbs video. Also, the REI website actually has a lot of good information. The television show Survivor Man, which is also on YouTube now, is also a fantastic resource. You may have noticed that I have a broken thumb, and it does make knot tying a little bit more difficult, so I cheat a little bit on the toggles. Well, I'd like you all to brace yourself now, because things are about to get really cheesy. I'm alone in the woods, alone in my head, and I think things sound better than they actually do coming out of my own mouth sometimes.
It is no wonder why so many nomads, wanderers, hunter-gatherers, and, well, worship nature as a god, or a deity, or a forest spirit. Conquerors and conquered. Fate, liberty, destiny, wealth, beauty. Manifest destiny. The lust of the wanderer, or the settler, or the native. And let's not forget the legend of the Wendigo, Skinwalker. All of these are part of the forest and make us who we are. All those who enjoy the outdoors, all those who get out here alone, armed or unarmed, in camouflage or in bright REI clothing, all those who enjoy our national forest system, we are one and the same. I guess my final PSA, my final nagging message is leave no trace, leave it better than you found it. And remember, these forests are shared by all. Let's get this party started. Got a napkin and a bit of duct tape. an extra 8 pounds that you're probably not going to use. But once you're at camp, it's comforting to have. It makes you feel good. It reminds you that you're an apex predator, that nothing that's proven to exist in these woods will fail to be felled by one of these things. If it runs, they stand no chance. Are you fucking... Fire, of course, gives me protection from mosquitoes, and it also scares off animals like raccoons or skunks who might want to chomp on my food in the middle of the night.
As usual with trips like these, I'm out early and I'm out filtering water before 6. The night was comfortable and I slept well. Although I am very grateful to have a light on my sidearm, as it gives me a sense of security.
Well, where's ice? I need some ice. Hey, little guy. What do you know?
Breakfast on the trail is delicious, nutritious, and of course, cheap oatmeal. With that, I'm out of the woods. It's a relatively uneventful but certainly relaxing trip. And I'm glad I got to take it with my trusty SKS in tow.
That was slow. All right. Ready?
Hit. Hit.
That's it.
Okay. What's put in the box?
That thing is hot.
I bet it is. So, sticking it up in the rack.
Yeah, thank you.
Yep.